I'll begin by acknowledging my elders past and present. Ngalak nini kuru ngala nois neji nonga boja. Nonga moja per neji nina kwabarak nonga boja kurulong. From the beginning of time to the end, this is Noongar country. Noongar people have been graceful keepers of our nation for many, many years. Jinin Kadajin Jerper Nijuwern, Noongar boja ngala my border. We ask that you look, listen, understand and embrace all the elements of Noongar country. This is forever our home. Kaiwan Yungan Court Jerper Niju Noongar boja Darsley Wang in Noongar boja. Hello and welcome. My heart is happy as we gathered here on Noongar country tonight. Welcome.
It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all here, and before commencing proceedings, I'd like to also acknowledge that we come together tonight on the traditional lands of the Noongar people and pay my respects to elders past and present. Could I call upon Councillor Kearney to read the dedication?
May we, the elected members of the City of Kwinana, have the wisdom to consider all matters before us with due consideration, integrity and respect for the council chambers. May the decisions made be in good faith and always in the best interests of the greater Kwinana community that we serve.
Should we move all items en bloc? That was Councillor Rouse's suggestion. Attendance, apologies, leave of absence previously approved. It's nil. I don't believe there's any questions from the public. Do councillors have any petitions? Presentations? There are no deputations. Confirmation of minutes held on the 13th of November 2024. Moved Deputy Mayor, seconded Councillor Wood. Would either councillors wish to speak? Anyone speak against? Put it to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Is there any requests for leave of absence? Nil. Nothing on item 10. Nothing on item 11. Item 12. Does anyone have anything in relation to any of item 12? Otherwise, we will move it on block. Oh, sorry, I've missed that altogether. Declarations of interest. Councillor Kearney. 18.5. Sorry, please stand and turn your microphone on.
18.5 with Quinny Sticks and Stones lease, as we're the owners of 22 Seabrook Way.
So what sort of interest do you have?
That we own 22 and it backs onto.
So it's financial interest?
Yeah.
So you'll leave the chamber?
If you want.
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't have to do anything with that, do we?
We've got to just record it.
Okay, recorded. Yeah. Okay, back to item 12. Does anyone have anything in relation to any of the items under 12? Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to move to amend item 12.1, Officer Recommendation number 6. So altering the commencement time from 5 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. for the Electors General Meeting.
Okay, so does anyone have anything in relation to any of the other items? Because we can move the other items on block. No, so we'll deal with 12.1. So 12.1, do councillors have any questions in relation to that? Just sit down for the moment. Do councillors have any questions in relation to 12.1? No, Councillor Brown would like to move it with an amendment. Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I'd like to amend Officer Recommendation number 6 to alter the commencement time of the Electors General Meeting from 5 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. to increase the opportunity for electors to come along to that meeting, hear the updates, and participate in that meeting.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Seconded Councillor Sargent. Councillor Brown spoken. Did you want to speak on the item, Councillor Sargent?
Thank you, Mayor Feasy. I feel as the Electors General meeting, the opportunity for people that want to get engaged that are potentially work hours. They may not be able to make 5 o'clock, but could make 5:30 quite reasonably. So I agree with Councillor Brown it is not something in the first one I attended last year, there was a large amount of attendance. So maybe that half an hour will make a difference in community engagement. So I think it's worth giving it a go. Thank you.
Does anyone wish to speak against the amended officer's recommendation? No, I'll put it to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. So if no one has any questions or any issues in relation to 12.2, 12.3, 12.4, 12.5, 12.6, 12.7, 12.8 and 12.9, I will suggest that someone moves those on block. Moved Deputy Mayor, seconded Councillor Wood. Either councillors wish to speak?
Thank you, Worship. I would like to commend the staff on the work and time and effort to put in, and especially working with the auditors through this time to get this report finalised and cleared with the Office of the Auditor General. There's a positive growth in there for the community for the future, and there's also a robust framework that's been put around a budget that allows for us to be able to deliver for our ratepayers in the City of Kwinana. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Wood.
I just concur with what Deputy Mayor Winmar said. A lot of work has been put into these, and it's very good to see that everything is going along so nicely.
Would anyone like to speak against? No, I'll put the motion to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Are we keeping up? There's nothing item 13. Item 14, nil. Item 15.1, construction of the Thomas Oval change rooms and upgrade of the existing pavilion kitchen. Is there any additional information? Do councillors have any questions? No, would someone like to move this way? Moved Councillor Rouse, seconded Councillor Acker. Would either councillors wish to speak? Would anyone speak against? Put it to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. 15.2, pre-booked Verge collection. Is there any additional information?
Nothing further, Mr. Mayor.
Councillors have any questions in relation to the new Verge collection program? Councillor Kearney?
I was on reading this. I thought it was all going to be bin operated, but it's not. You can put the rubbish out and they're going to come and collect.
Mrs. Cook?
Through you, Your Worship, the tender process didn't specify how they would collect the Verge items, so it was up to the tenderers to provide, I guess, their methodology that would be appropriate. Of the tenderers that submitted, only one provided that option as a bin service. All the others provided it as specified in the report, which is very much they put the item out and within a certain period of time the item is picked up. So from the assessment, there's been some further, progress across all of Perth around whether the bins actually work in terms of the efficiency of the service. So the preferred tenderer in this case his approach is very much to put it out and it's collected, but it will still be an on-demand service.
Thank you.
Do we think that may be problematic in relation to the fact that generally people put rubbish out based on the fact that they see others put rubbish out? What mechanisms will we have in place to ensure the people that just decide to fill their Verge with rubbish and they actually haven't pre-booked?
I guess we'll have to go through that process of the education before this service is commenced, which we've got another 6 months before this service commences. This is only really dealing with the actual procurement of the contractor.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Sargent?
Thank you, Mayor Feasy. I guess backing off what the Mayor has just comments, my questions would be around, in this 6-month window with awarding this tender that's now using this process, which I understand and read all the documents and viability and financial best bang for your buck for our ratepayers, that's fantastic. My concern would be around even not so much everybody else putting out because they saw someone adding to a pile, so potentially the person that has chosen to do the pre-booked service waking up in the morning and there's 3 times the amount and not being collected, and that illegal dumping part of it. So I think just my question is that consideration will be taken towards that in this process. I understand it's new and it's a learning curve and we will do that, but the city intends to have a process in place being aware that of these kind of hiccups that could come with this service.
Through you, Your Worship, it is very much part of the education process. With any change, there's a change management exercise, so there will be quite considerable education not only around the verge collection service but the 3-bin service, which are pretty much going to be occurring at the same time. And there will be, it will be incumbent on the person that books the service to identify the items that are being picked up. So when things are being picked up and there are other things there that should have been left out, then it'll be around how we deal with that. So we're just working through all those elements at the moment, but yeah, that'll be part of that education program.
If no further, Councillor Penny.
It's actually a statement, and I'm just trying to work out how to pose it as a question to keep by the rules. Can you speak to if there's conversations being had around, you know, using the street safety and community engagement programs as well around that cross-team approach to this, because we've got such a strong team, such strong advocates in community safety that do such great work in suburbs like Leader, and hopefully that will expand to other suburbs in terms of neighbours getting together and cleaning up their streets, communicating and having that communication around when somebody is going to do a verge pickup and those kinds of things. And while it might create a bit of momentum, people, you know, there's another way of looking at this, that people could actually be working together to put their verge stuff out and actually be a really, really strong community connector. Have conversations like that been had?
Through you, Your Worship, the founder of that Street by Street project is actually our circularity lead. So it's not just a safety street by street program, it is all about educating the community around waste, and that individual with the circularity lead with her team will be very much part of that engagement program, and the Street by Street will be definitely taking on board the verge collection service changes as well as the 3-bin service changes. So that'll be their primary focus as we move in. We've now appointed the additional education officer, so they're pulling together all that as we speak. And I believe, as I think I've indicated previously, we'll be coming to Council in February as one of your first briefing sessions to talk about that engagement and comms program for all things waste next year. So that'll be a joy to look forward to.
Would someone like to move this item? Moved, Councillor Penny, seconded, Councillor Sargent. Would either councillor wish to speak? No? Would anyone like to speak against? If that's the case, I'll put it to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Item 15.3, Economic Development Strategy. There is a slight amendment. So we're just going to, so it's proposed that we add point 2, request the CEO to review performance measures contained in the ED strategy and present a report to council within 12 months with any recommended adjustments to ensure the measures remain fit for purpose and reflective of the city's capacity to influence economic outcomes. Is someone happy to move it with the amendment? Moved, Councillor Penny. Indeed you can.
Sorry, just a moment, I'll get to the right page. It's going backwards and forwards, Matt. Oh, I jumped 100 pages. Sorry, just one moment. The page down there is not matching the page up there.
No, that's
All right, okay, hang on. I'll use. How do I get to point 3?
there you go.
Thank you, Councillor Rouse. Sorry, just a moment. On page 608. I'm going off the report page numbers. With the pillars for economic growth, I have a question regarding 1.1.1 in Outcome 4's actions. Is there opportunity to ensure that we deliver diversified housing options for our community in that plan? Is that one of the key pillars for our community going forwards? Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, can you just repeat, so you're on page 608 and you're looking at outcome 4 under community wellbeing?
Yes, outcome 4.1 under community wellbeing 7.1 pillars for economic growth is at the top of the page.
Yeah.
And so action 1.1.1 says advocate for additional state land availability to deliver housing outcomes. With those housing outcomes, would we be aiming towards having diverse housing opportunities for our diverse community needs?
Through you, Your Worship, this particular action looks at advocacies, and we've already sort of started this very much around looking at, together with the state and together with the Perth Southwest Metro Alliance, around lazy land, states' lazy land. That was a mandate to look at what available land there is and what housing options we're looking at. And those conversations certainly are happening with our planning team around development opportunities for housing and looking at highest and best use for those sites. An example of that is making sure that strategic sites like the Cassia development adjacent to the city centre provides for housing diversity that is not the same as housing options on the eastern side of the freeway, to try and get that diversity, getting single bedroom, apartment style development or other forms, even townhouse, so that you can get those various housing options. So depending on the location and its, I guess, positioning within the city, closer to city centres, obviously we want increased density. As we move away from city centres, then we're looking at your standard 4x2s and larger lots or standard lots. So we're certainly looking at that as part of our advocacy piece. Yep.
Any other questions? No? Would someone like to move the alternative recommendation? Moved Councillor Penny, seconded Deputy Mayor. Councillor Penny, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you. I think the strategy represents a really good body of work and a really good start to looking forward for Kwinana's economic vision. I really welcome the opportunity to revisit the strategy in 12 months, and especially looking at if those measures remain fit for purpose. I think we're in a really interesting time, and we've had very robust discussion about the language that we use around how we describe our community and how we describe our vision, and that's came through the our community planning process, and I'd like to see that language reflected within this strategy. So items like when we're talking about changing the perception of Kwinana, or how we talk about growing people in a way that really respects people's autonomy and individual aspirations, as well as having a collective vision for the economic development of the region. and our city. I also really want to commend the officers involved in this process for the way that First Nations entrepreneurship has been highlighted through the strategy. As an elected member, I'm really keen to dive into that and other outcomes of the strategy so that I get a really good sense of what's behind this, the underpinning assumptions, so that we can be champions for this strategy moving forward, that we can represent it with confidence and be proud of the work that the officers are doing and what we represent as a city. So at that later briefing in the next 12 months, I look forward to diving deeper into this strategy and getting to know it a lot better. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Penny. Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, thank you. Reiterate the words of Councillor Penny and commend the council on coming with a clear vision for the future of Kwinana. We know that the Western Trade Corridor industry growth in the next 5 to 10 years is going to be exponential, and it's good to see that the document is at a level that the community can understand and read and follow about where the future of Kwinana is heading, and the opportunities to not only bring new businesses to this region, but also to be able to bring the workers and the trained and skilled people to come and be part of wanting to make Kwinana a place for them to live and to raise a family. So I applaud the workers on the staff on the strategy and the way looking forward, and also commend Councillor Penny for outlining that it's also prudent to have a mechanism there to review so that we can see where we're tracking and see where we're going. I think it's a big step forward for us as a council and gives us a chance to be put our best foot forward and be a leader in the Western Trade Corridor for matters that pertain to our community.
Would anyone like to speak against? If not, I'll put it to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Item 16.1, Amendment 1 to the Mandoglip East Local Structure Plan, lots 5900, lot 11, lot 9002, 9006 Hoffman Road, and lot 9060 Rowley Road, Mandoglip, for consideration of submissions and recommendations. Is there any additional information?
Thanks for Mr. Mayor.
Councillors have any questions? Someone like to move that way? Moved Councillor Sargent, seconded Councillor Acker. Either councillors wish to speak? Councillor Sargent.
Thank you, Mayor Feasy. I was really impressed from the first time this documentation has come past council to see that the recommendations and actions and hope of making something that has cost saving to the ratepayer without putting grass underneath the power lines, doing a native vegetation which gives us a better environmental ecological impact, that the controls that were suggested are being put in place. So thank you to all the city officers and consultants involved in coming back with this body of work to this level and calibre. I'm very impressed, and I thank you for all your hard work to ensure the best outcome for the ratepayer and the community that will live there. Thank you.
Councillor Acker. Anyone speak against? If not, I'll put it to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Item 17.1, minor amendment to local 16.2. It's moving things faster. Draft Urban Forest Strategy 2024 to 2044. Is there any additional information? Councillors have any questions? Someone like to move that way? Moved Councillor Sargent, seconded Councillor Acker. Councillor Sargent, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Mayor Feasy. Again, it's very proud to be part of the Kwinana Council to see the emphasis in how you have come together with this body of work to recognise the environmental concern of the ratepayer and to try and go forwards to make sure that our grandchildren will grow up in Kwinana, not in urban heat islands, to have trees shading our footpaths. It's a very important body of work, and city staff have given it a very strong emphasis to It's a very proud moment to be part of being able to pass this document, and I thank everyone involved for this high level of work. That's something that is a legacy for generations to come within Kwinana. Thank you.
Councillor Acker? Anyone like to speak against? I'll put it to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Now to item 17.1. Actually, does anyone have any questions or anything they want to say in relation to 17.1, 17.2 or 17.3? Which item? 17.3. Okay, I won't move them on blocks. So 17.1, minor amendment to local planning policy for administration of development contribution plans adoption. Is there any additional information? Questions, councillors? Someone like to move that way? Councillor Rouse, seconded. Councillor Sargent. Either councillors wish to speak? No, thank you. Speak against? Put it to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Item 17.2, minor amendment to local planning policy number 7, uniform fencing adoption. Any additional information? Any questions? Councillor Sargent.
Thank you, Mayor Feasy. Could city officers speak to regarding where point 5.2.7 and 0.5.3.3, is this an opportunity going forwards to align with other plans we have to include native vegetation, tree retention and water-wise options for our city going forward? So one, it's a cost saver, and two, it aligns with these fantastic pieces of work that you've been presenting. Thank you.
Through you, Your Worship, yes, this policy really focuses in on the actual fencing and when the uniform fencing should be applied, but that is very much in the context of the landscaping and streetscape impact. So together with, works in with all the other local planning policies that relate to structure planning, subdivision or development approvals, in ensuring that it's not acting alone, that landscaping, tree retention or tree planting, any water sensitive urban design, any other aspects of your verge treatments are considered as part of that streetscape impact and the fencing type that's proposed.
Any other questions? Someone like to move that way? Moved Councillor Rouse, seconded Councillor Wood. Would either councillors wish to speak? Speak against? I'll put it to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. 17.3, minor amendment to local planning policy number 14, residential development. Any questions? 17.3. Councillor Sargent.
Regarding page 2023, does the, when you're talking about the patio build and you've got the measurement, if I recall correctly, I think it was 450 millimetres, that anything beneath that was not considered. So would that mean that it excludes colorbond and stud wall structures? It's on the bottom left-hand corner with note, is what I'm referring to.
Just to clarify, so your question is, the policy, the way it's written, suggests that for carports, patios, verandas, where the structures are on lot boundary setbacks, may be reduced to nil so it can come down to 0, where the structure has eave, gutters and roof setback at least 450 mil from the lot boundary.
Yes, it's regarding that, and if you see the note in the bottom left corner where
Yeah.
it specifically says pillars and posts with a horizontal dimension of 450 millimetres by 450 millimetres or less do not constitute a boundary wall. So I'm just wondering if we're reducing it to nil, and that's the side of a carport. I'm just trying to clarify material-wise, does that mean that it couldn't be a colour bond or a stud wall up to that boundary? Thank you.
If it constitutes a boundary wall, then it'd have to be, it would still have that 450 millimetre setback.
Sorry, I'm referring to the actual construction material because it's in that note, it's talking about actual pillars and posts. So when we're talking about verandas, carports and reducing that setback, does that mean that a side of a veranda or a carport could be that boundary wall? Or is it you have a wall and then you have that? Just because of the note part of it, I was sitting there going, your colour-bond tubing would be potentially underneath 450 or 450, or to make sure that that's communicated clearly to the ratepayer to not have people building out of code.
I
Sorry.
don't think the material has any bearing on the requirement.
Okay, sorry,
Yeah.
I may have read it wrong.
Yeah,
I
that's
was
okay.
just saying when it said that you're reducing it to that boundary, and then you've got a note saying that materials underneath that measurement were not able to be used.
This refers to the pillars and posts. It doesn't talk about the nature of a colour bond wall or anything of that sort. It just talks about the posts
Yes,
and the
so
pillars.
just more your standard colour bond wall
Yeah.
is generally the pillars are that dimension or smaller.
Yeah. So you,
So that was just my
yeah.
clarification.
So it's still 450 millimetres.
Okay, so they would be excluded as boundary wall options under that policy amendment? Or have historically, because that's not in the edits, sorry.
It's not part of the edits. It's whatever it's always been.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, it doesn't make any difference.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Any other questions? Someone like to move 17.3? Councillor Rouse, seconded Councillor Kearney. Do either councillors wish to speak? Anyone speak against? I'll put to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. 17.4, construction of the Wellard West Pavilion. Is there any additional information? Council have any questions? For those people that are unsure what we're referring to in relation to Wellard West, it's the pavilion at Emerald Park School Oval. Someone like to move that way? Move Councillor Acker, second, and Deputy Mayor. Would either councillors wish to speak? Anyone speak against? Put to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Item 17.5, I believe, has been withdrawn from the agenda.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
We need to vote on removing it, or it's been removed?
It's removed.
It's removed. So 18.2, superannuation payments to elected members, Local Government Amendment Bill 2024.
18.1.
Seeing if everyone's paying attention. 18.1, Council Policy Review. Is there any additional information?
No.
Councillors have any questions? Councillor Brown? You had your hand up.
Thank you, Your
Everyone
Worship.
gets a turn.
Just a question around the policy for record keeping. There was an amendment done under elected members, and it pertains to communications, or a range of communications. Then it goes into lobbying, telephone calls, meetings, other verbal conversations, and social media and the like, and requirements to capture those details for, I guess, safekeeping and reference in the future. I would just like for the city to speak to what that looks like in practice, especially for things like social media, where it says a post that creates interest from the public or media, and I believe then has to be captured and forwarded to the council administration officer. Who plays each role in that process, and can the city just speak to what that looks like?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. So we've taken some advice on this in terms of the requirements for record keeping, particularly in regards to elected members. And so there is an obligation upon elected members to ensure that they capture a lot of information that takes place. In terms of social media, I mean, it's up to you in terms of how you gauge whether there's been significant public interest in that. So basically what you would do is take a snapshot of that, an image, and you'd send it through to the governance officer, and then we would put that into our record system, and we would record it in there.
Thank you for that. Is the city open to, in the future, looking at more kind of automated capturing options in that space, just to reduce burden, but also ensure that everything is followed as mentioned here?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, absolutely. The difficulty is because the social media, because it's done on your page, we don't have our systems go across and monitoring that. We're certainly capturing that if it's on the council social media pages, but we don't have systems which go across your own personal one. So that's where you'll have to monitor that. But any other ones, we would be doing automated capturing.
And just one more on this list here. When it comes to things like verbal conversations, addresses, speeches done at events and the like, is that everything? Is it kind of notable items as determined by us, or how does that work?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, exactly as you said, it's notable items. Once again, there is a level of discretion as to what is a notable item.
Thank you.
Councillor Sargent?
Thank you, Mayor Feasy. Okay. With 18.1, there's sorry, I have not written the page number, but in one of the policies where you've got the box and you talk about like legal legislation, it's in red and it says legislation/law required. I'm not sure if it just means that a law is to be put in, or that's a typo one with that one.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, not quite sure which one you're referring to, but I would think that's because, yes, the legislation is to be put in as to what it relates to.
Okay, that's all right. On page 2048, sorry, hang on, no. Sorry, 2091, 2.2, referencing that particular paragraph, when it talks about with the Verge and residents doing upgrades, but their responsibility to make sure that they're avoiding community utilities, is that all covered under dial before you dig for ratepayers, or is it something that they should contact the City of Kwinana? Because if you have any underground infrastructure, is it all in that state registered system, or is it something that a ratepayer to best practice should contact you as well?
Director of Digging?
Through the chair, the Dial Before You Dig, or Dial Before You Dig Australia, some new name it's got, is where any resident should contact, and we will get a notification through that system.
Sure.
Okay, we're on 2092. 2.3.2G. Does the City of Kwinana website have available a list of the noxious weed register, whether it's the state or the national one, to encourage ratepayers to ensure that they know not to plant them? Because me as an individual wouldn't know what is classed a noxious weed. Like, do you count, I don't know, bougainvillea or that heaven something that is all through the backyards of Callista that nobody likes? I was just wondering if the city actually had a register so that ratepayers could make sure they're compliant with this policy.
Not on the city's website, I don't believe.
Through the chair, I believe that I think there might be, but we certainly have a list available. We do recommend that people contact the city when they propose to do this. So we have some pretty simple things like turf, a certain amount of paving you can do, and you just go and do it. But if you want to start doing gardens, we would normally recommend giving our landscape architects a call, and they'll certainly talk you through. Or if you want to go for a more conservation type garden using Australian natives, also environmental officers would probably be happy to chat. So we would recommend contacting the city.
Thank you. Maybe we could action some comms around that if we have these policies, because your general ratepayer may be unaware of that fact. Just that if they think they can plant plants and that knowledge of noxious plants, like you said, because my next question along those lines as well is on page 2092.2.4, where it talks about removing remnant bush and needing approval beforehand. Is that regarding native, or if you had an overgrown bougainvillea in a purchased house that you bought and you wanted to remove that, should you get a permit for that as well, with the clarification?
Through you, Your Worship, this policy is at a higher level. We have the detail that gives that information to residents on a website. So it does provide details on what you can and can't do and advice. And with regard to the specific of whether or not you need to contact the council or the city to remove vegetation on a verge, all vegetation on a verge requires permission from the city.
Councillor Sargent, I thought you'd finished because you sat down.
Sorry, one more. Thank you, Mayor Feasy. Okay, on page 2138, when it talks about what this policy excludes, there is a line regarding feedback for ratepayers, and it uses an example regarding surveys. With the complaints process. So if someone, say the Market Cards survey, makes a complaint in that about something that the city operations is doing or they feel is not doing correctly, does this document then exclude them from the complaints process? I just feel that if our ratepayers are taking the time and we want to hear what they have to say to participate in our surveys, to feel that we have a policy that specifically excludes that it's not covered in the complaints policy, that particular line, I wasn't sure if it's vital or could be removed.
So, through the chair, so just so I'm clear, so are you asking if someone responds in a survey such as the market survey and makes a complaint through that survey process, are we going to treat it as a complaint? Is that basically what you're asking?
The page is up here. So it says...
Can you give me the, rather than the page on the number, the actual page of the document?
Yeah, sorry, it's just been highlighted. Can you see that?
Screen.
So where it says this policy does not apply to complaints concerning the following matters. So all I'm worried is that particular point, if it is excluded from this policy, what is the process for a ratepayer that's taken the time to actually contribute to our communications if they're raising a concern through that communication that they are excluded through our complaints process?
Okay, so through the survey process, we do look at the comments, and one of the difficulties is, and we make it quite clear when surveys are going out, if people are making statements like that, the process to follow. The difficulty is with surveys is that you can get a large number of comments, and so it's very difficult to be able to go through and monitor all of that. If there is a significant complaint in there, then we would obviously be picking that up and then going back and asking them to put it through the correct channel. So we would follow up on it. But the difficulty is with surveys, you get a large number of comments. But we make it quite clear in terms of how people should put complaints in. And if we did notice something in a survey, we would be going back to, if we can, to find that, because one of the difficulties is it's through surveys, there is quite often no name or anything allocated to the comments made in there, and that's the reason why that's there.
No further questions? Someone like to move item 18.1? Moved Deputy Mayor, seconded Councillor Rouse. Deputy Mayor? Councillor Rouse? Anyone speak against? Put to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Now we're at 18.2. Superannuation payment to elected members, Local Government Amendment Bill of 2024. Is there any additional information?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. CEO.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So the local government amendments as part of this second part of the tranche has now gone through assent. So it's now been signed off by the Governor General. So these have now come in, and so we're following that process on that.
Councillors have any questions? Councillor Sargent.
I have a question regarding the cost, that it just notes that it will be looked at the next budget review. Does that put, because I strongly believe that someone should have superannuation while they are in this role, because if they want to serve their city for any amount of time, they should have the right as any other person does. But what my concern is, with that not being budgeted, will this implement prior to a new budget being set? And does that mean that we have to take these funds from an allocated resource, or would there be a reserve that these funds would come from in the budget review?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. How do I respond to that one? All of the above. So we are doing this before the next annual budget process. So we will look at this as part of the next budget review process. We will look to see how we can find some funds to cover it. In the scheme of things, $55,000 in terms of our total budget is a very small percentage. We will should be able to find some funds to allocate to it, and we will put that into the budget review.
Any other questions? Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I think it's been quite a long journey to get to this point. Could the city talk to some of the justifications or even just talking points around this, especially as it relates to members of the community who, through other life circumstances, may not have retirement savings in the form of superannuation down the line?
Sure.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. This has come about for a number of reasons. It's been raised by a number of councillors, so this is driven by councillors. This is not driven by officers. It's been driven by the councillors on the basis that they are devoting a lot of their time to the duties, And it's only fair and equitable that they should receive superannuation contributions for the work, for the payments that they receive. If you look at other states within Australia, it's common that councillors do receive this. So this has been an advocacy item for Walga for a number of years, and it was first raised during the first tranche where the state government came out and posed this as an option. I guess one of the things which has been a little concerning is that they're leaving it up to councils to make the decision to do whether they do that or not. In my view, they should have come out and said it's compulsory to do, particularly for tranche 1 councils. So this has been an ongoing advocacy position for local government for some time, and the government has now put the legislation in to enable it to occur. I think it is fair because you want to encourage people to run for councils in the future, and particularly for young women, for women who don't receive potentially the same levels of remuneration across all their jobs. It provides a good form of remuneration in terms of recognition in terms of the superannuation. I hope that helps.
Yeah, I mean, I think what the CEO has explained is pretty much on the money. I know that the one example, the local government women's association did lobby hard to the minister to have this included for that exact reason. Quite often, certainly female councillors in lots of situations, that's actually their job, and so because they may be a stay-at-home parent or whatnot. So they're ultimately being penalised for choosing to be an elected official as opposed to going and seeking part-time employment. So I guess that's one point. I guess it modernises further the local government sector in that obviously the Salary and Allowances Tribunal a number of years ago took control of the sitting fees for councillors to again modernise the Act to ensure that councillors' sitting fees were of a nature that attracted more people to becoming local government councillors. There was quite a period of time where very few people ran for local government because of the expectation of time commitment, as opposed to you're not necessarily on council for reward, but there certainly are a vast number of councillors that may work as a councillor 1 day a week. So in turn, they actually are missing out on a day's salary, I guess. And certainly one example of the deputy mayor at Rockingham, who works for state government, only works 4 days a week so that she can concentrate her time 3 days a week. Councillor Rouse was a stay-at-home dad. Great example here at the city. Obviously, a stay-at-home dad. His main income is being a councillor. So again, missing out on superannuation because you've committed to being an elected member. So I guess I would encourage councillors to support the motion. And I guess finally, in the current system, it also doesn't encourage younger people to be mayors of local governments for long periods of time, again, because of the fact that superannuation is not paid. So I guess there are a number of flaws. I guess also you're not necessarily making a decision for today, you're making a decision for a future council. So it's putting things in place to encourage people to get involved in local government and represent their community. Any additional questions? Someone like to move that way? Moved Councillor Sargent, seconded Councillor Rouse. Either councillors wish to speak? Councillor Sargent.
Thank you, Mayor Feasy. Just reiterating the points you just made, I feel that for someone, especially with the cost of living crisis, to choose civic duty as something that they wish to pursue, if they are lucky enough to be voted in by their council to not have that opportunity, or to, like you said, attract a stay-at-home parent that is connected to the community and believes in that. I don't think it's fair to penalise someone when it comes to their later years and retirement, to know that they are going to struggle as every employer. I know that we're not employees, but we are serving our community. I feel that this is something that's going to make a difference with, like you said, to attract others to local government and to be fair and equitable in the community process. Thank you.
Councillor Sargent, Councillor Rouse.
Yes, thank you, Worship. As the CEO said, this is a state government decision, and I think they were remiss in not making it mandatory for all local governments to follow, and putting the pressure back on us as councillors. But as you alluded to, Your Worship, this is for future councils as well. So for us to not approve this motion today puts the pressure on future councillors that going forward into the future, which we may or may not be involved with. So I fully support the motion. Thank you.
Anyone speak against? If not, I will put it to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Item 18.3, council payment for the month ended 31st of October 2024. Councillor Sargent, do you have any questions?
No, I do not, Mayor.
Any other questions? Oh, you're going to move it? Move, Deputy Mayor.
Come on, Councillor Winmar, you got a question there somewhere, right?
Would anyone like to second the item? Second, Councillor Wood. If the councillor wish to speak. Speak against? Put it to the vote. All in favour? Against? Motion carried. 18.4, monthly financial reports, October 2024. Any additional information? Councillors have any questions? Someone like to move that way? Moved, Councillor Sargent. Seconded, Councillor Acker. Councillor Sargent, did you want to speak?
No, thank you.
Councillor Acker. Anyone speak against? Put it to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. 18.5, proposed lease. I believe Councillor Kearney's declared a financial interest and will depart the chamber. Is there any additional information? Councillor, any questions in relation to this item? Someone like to move that way? Moved, Councillor Acker, seconded Councillor Sargent. Councillor Acker. Councillor Sargent. Anyone speak against? Put to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Item 18.6, proposed meeting dates for 2025. Is there any additional information?
Nothing further, Mr. Mayor.
Councillors have any questions? Is it a question, Councillor Brown?
It's a move to amend.
Oh, we're on question time. You jumped the gun there.
Okay, should I have to stand?
Councillor Rouse, you have a question?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, as I asked the CEO earlier, traditionally we've gone for the second Wednesday and fourth Wednesdays of the month, which has been my time on council, and I think quite previous before that. Can we just, can the CEO just explain why some of those dates do not fall on those second and fourth Wednesdays, please?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So particularly in relation to the 5th of February, that's because of the elected general meeting, which we have to hold within a specified time frame after the adoption of the annual report. that's effectively the last day to do that. There's some months where we've got a number of public holidays, so we're taking into account the public holidays when they fall. And in September, for instance, the reason why there's one in that month is because we've got a Bullamara meeting, we've got an Audit and Risk Committee meeting, and so it allows time to be able to do the agendas, bring the minutes through from that into the council meeting. So it's just recognising that there's a number of other committee meetings on in that month.
Question? Councillor Sargent? I also note that there's a council meeting on the 11th of June. That's my birthday. Just anyone wants to pencil it into their calendars.
Hey, I came on my 40th birthday this year. Can you, I know you've just explained about some of the gaps, but could you explain what the large gap between the November and December meeting?
December's meeting is on the 3rd Wednesday of the month because there's only one meeting in December.
Okay, all right.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and the other reason for it too, because you've just done it, is the Audit and Risk Committee meeting. So we need the time to do the annual report, take that to Audit and Risk, and then bring it through.
Any other questions? No? Councillor Brown, have you got a question? Councillor Brown, would you like to move the item with an amendment?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I would like to
Amend the start time?
I would like to move an amendment to the recommendation for the ordinary council meetings commencement time, shifting it from 5:30 p.m. to 6 p.m.
We have a mover. I will second it.
Okay.
From the chair.
Can
Would
I
you like to speak?
Thank you, Your Worship. So this is something that was quite hotly debated in the council chamber around 6 months ago. At that time, there was some concerns around the logistics of changing this schedule in this way, kind of mid-cycle. There was some concerns around the need to publicly advertise and whether that would be a cost impediment on the city. But there was at that time appetite to revisit it when we did take a look at the schedule for the year again. So here we are. I do have a whole speech prepared, but no need to pull out the timer because I'm not going to read it out. We've gone through the the topics before, but I will say this: I think everyone sitting here understands that it is difficult for people working 9 to 5 to get here in time for 5:30 p.m., particularly residents who need to travel on the freeway. I think everyone sitting here also knows that we all want to maximise attendance at these meetings and maximise participation in the democratic process. And we are also aware that compared to councils immediately surrounding us, such as Rockingham, their council meeting starts at 6 p.m, Coburn starts theirs at 7 p.m, and the Shire of Serpentine Jarrahdale also starts theirs at 7 p.m. So those are some of the key points. I would just urge councillors to perhaps take a chance at trying something new. Let's see how it goes, see if it does make an impact on attendance or participation in this democratic process. And for that reason, I do encourage everyone to support this change to 6 p.m. as the commencement time, at least for the next 12 months.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. I have nothing further to add. Would any councillors wish to speak against?
Could I please move that we suspend standing orders for a moment to have a discussion?
Someone stole my standing orders. We will suspend the relevant standing orders, which is... Would someone like to move that we suspend the relevant standing order, and I don't have it because someone stole my standing orders, to allow for a general discussion?
Yes, please.
Seconded? Councillor Rouse, all in favour? Against? Carried. I'm sure like 17 point something or other comes to mind. Does anyone else have anything else to say now that we've done that? Sorry, please stand, turn the microphone on.
Sorry. I'm fully supportive of the time change. The only thing that I think was my sticking point last time as well, more than anything, is we're in summer months now, that those of the community, I understand, like with the working community, in winter and poor weather, if we're finding the disabled community or someone that doesn't have access to a car, that felt that they needed to come. The idea of them walking home at night in the rain type thing, that was my one sort of, I felt that we could possibly be doing that. I don't know whether it's worth going, can we, like, because the problem is like you said last time, if we lock this in, then we're set with that, or I guess if we're finding, or if there's any complaints coming to council regarding people, like I know there's a lady in an electronic wheelchair that had intended to come down to council, and she lives in Parmelia and was going to come all the way down, and if she had to wait, and I also know that when people come in, we do serve them first as a general rule. The mayor brings the item that someone's coming to be addressed about forwards, because most of the time they have a deputation attached to that, but that's probably personally my only sort of reservation, and I just wanted to have a conversation about that going, if we find in the winter months it becomes a thing, is it something that we're going to have a disadvantage because we're, like the same argument we had before about costing, because I definitely fully support let's give this a shot and having more people access the meetings and see what happens. That's just my one, the other way round with last time. So I'm quite happy to vote for it now, but just if council has reports more in the winter months, if that's a thing, I don't know. I just felt that I needed to discuss this with council now, that we'd be prepared to address that. Like I know the mayor had said previously, if someone is coming to a council meeting, they're normally coming because it's something that is important to them and they'll come here however they can make it here. But I'm just more thinking if someone doesn't have a car and is coming on foot, I didn't want to disadvantage them where in summer it's not an issue.
I mean, I take your point, but I think for the limited numbers of people attending, which then the limited odds then of them attending by foot reduces even more. I think it's I don't think it's something that would potentially be an issue, but ultimately you've obviously stated your concerns, so that's good. Anyone else have anything else to say?
Yes, Your Worship. In the past, we used to have 7 o'clock meetings, and it never seemed to affect the amount of people that came, except sometimes, well, often, we had more people here than we do now. So the later time seemed to work better.
Yeah, I believe we had stats last time which was contrary to that, but that's, I think again, if there's an item on the agenda that the community is concerned about, more people will attend for that item that's on the agenda. I.e. the last time was probably the mobile phone tower in Wandie. We obviously had quite a large contingent of people because of that. So, anything else that anyone wishes to add? If not, I will resume standing order, whatever it was. Moved, Deputy Mayor, seconded Councillor Rouse. All in favour? Against? Carried. So the item has been moved and seconded. So if anyone would like to speak against? If not, I'll put it to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Item 18.7, Quarterly Business Performance Report, Strategic Community Plan and Corporate Business Plan, July to September 2024. Any additional information? Questions? Councillor Sargent.
Can you, on page 2344, can you please speak to where the public health plan is at with the staffing change? Because I'm aware this is reporting for the quarter before. Is that something that we have this information to know that that is definitely progressing forwards?
Your computer doesn't go up that high.
Through you, Your Worship. The new staff officer that will look after this project of renewing the public health plan commenced this week. So you'll start to see movement with this project and the plan review next year.
No other questions? Someone like to move this way? Moved Deputy Mayor, seconded Councillor Kearney. Would either councillors wish to speak? Anyone speak against? Put it to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. 18.8. 18.8, council delegation review. Any additional information, Mr. CEO? Any questions? Someone like to move that way? Moved. Councillor Rouse, seconded. Councillor Wood. Would either councillors wish to speak? Anyone speak against? Put it to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Item 18.9, accounts of payment for the month ended 30 November. No additional information. Any questions, Councillor Sargent? Any questions for anyone else? Someone like to move that way? Moved Councillor Wood, seconded Councillor Acker. Would either councillors wish to speak? Speak against? I'll put it to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. There is nothing on item 19. 20, is there any late or urgent business?
Yes, Mr Mayor, item 21.6, 21.1, monthly financial report.
21.1. Has everyone got that?
Yep.
21.1, everyone has seen that late item. Could I just have someone move that we accept the late item? Moved Councillor Wood, seconded Deputy Mayor. All in favour? Against? Carried. Accept the late notice. Does anyone have any questions in relation to item 21.1? Would someone like to move that way? Move Deputy Mayor, seconded Councillor Rouse. Would either councillors wish to speak? Speak against? I'll put to the vote. All in favour? Against? Carried. Reports of elected members. Councillor Wood.
I've performed all those duties required of me, and I attended the seniors' Christmas lunch on 3rd of December. The tables were full with happy seniors who all appeared to enjoy this very successful event. I give my praise to the staff for the wonderful day and the setup, and it was very enjoyable. On the 5th of December, I went along with Councillors Acker and Sargent to the Public Art Sunset Tour, organised by Maria. Thank you, Maria. It was a very lovely evening, and I was amazed and delighted by the pieces of art we looked at, and I'm sure that our community appreciates these fantastic artworks around our city, and I look forward to more. I also attended Callista Primary School's graduation ceremony on behalf of the Premier Roger Cook, and Bertram Primary School's Middle Award ceremony, also on behalf of Premier Roger Cook, to present book awards.
Councillor Sargent.
Thank you, Mayor Feasey. Since our last council meeting, I had the pleasure of attending the Audit and Risk Committee. I, again, would like to reiterate, I know I've said this pretty much every time I stand up, Councillor Acker loved attending with us. The dedication to community from staff within the safety culture of the staff of the City of Kwinana, but also the serious level of consideration given to potential risks, hazards and impacts for all of our ratepayers, and how city staff respond and address to it at such a high level. I'm truly honoured again to be able to be part of that committee, to hear the reports and know the value on community safety that the City of Kwinana holds. I was also able to go on the public art review, and I learned a lot about how the process went, and I was able to see some amazing artwork, and it was very informative as a councillor. There's often a lot of community backlash regarding public art displays going, our ratepayers' dollars are paying for this, but with the 1% developer contributions, these are such high levels of amenity that we are adding to our community to make it this place that we are all proud to call home, and it's just such a vital thing. So again, thank you to all the team behind that, and the fact that the City of Kwinana has a value on art and local amenity in all forms, because that's the thing. It's not just a painting on a wall, it's a projection on a silo, or it's a concrete 3-pillar thing you can walk in and there's lights, and it was just a very fantastic thing. Before I finish, I just would also like to point out that since our last meeting, there was the 16 days in WA, and the council, my very first motion, we moved to advocate around saying no to violence as a council, and I was very proud of the community of Kwinana and how everyone stood tall together to emphasise that violence is not okay. And on that note, going into the Christmas period, I would like everyone to maintain safe and know that if you are struggling, that help is out there. There are 24-hour phone lines that you can call, 1-800-RESPECT, and you can get advice, or the Ask Izzy platform. If anybody at home is watching this, that please know, I wish you a safe and Merry Christmas, but you can get help if you need it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sargent. Councillor Rouse.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just briefly, on Thursday the 5th of December, I didn't attend the public art mystery tour, but a few of us actually went to the Quillen Arts Centre for the Thank a Volunteer event, and what wonderful night, listening to a good little stage show on the history of Kwinana, a few photos I hadn't seen before, and well hosted by our new friend Simon Beaumont, who's returning to 6PR. In the morning session, so just give him a little plug. It was wonderful to see a Kwinana boy come back and host the night for us. And on yesterday, 10th of December, I chaired the LEMC, Local Emergency Management Committee meeting. No major reports from the agencies, which is always good to hear. I did, on behalf of Council, thank the bushfire volunteers for their swift action last week with the fire over on Thomas Road. As was pointed out, if it wasn't for their local knowledge and quick response, that could have been devastating to quite a few properties over that area. So I did pass on our thanks to them, as well as our thanks to the acting OIC of the Kwinana Police Station. So he was well appreciative of that. And funny thing was, we did a desktop exercise at the LEMC, and it was a heat wave exercise, so it was quite pertinent to our weather at the moment. Yeah, planned for last September the exercise was, but carried over to this meeting, so I immediately went home yesterday after that and jumped in the pool. So there are going to be measures in place where we will be able to prepare adequately for future heat waves. I know I've been pretty critical of our Director of City Development and Sustainability. I actually said that she was dead to me when I heard the news that she was leaving us to join the City of Kwinana, but I'd just like to put on public record that thank you very much, Maria. I'm very sorry that you are leaving us, but I wish you all the best for the future. And I wish everybody here a Merry Christmas, and all the city staff and all those that live in the City of Kwinana a safe festive period. Thank you, Your Worship.
And Councillor Rouse. Councillor Penny.
Lots of long reports, so I'll try and keep it succinct.
Okay, thanks for your report.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of attending the Culin Arts Centre Sunday music sessions this weekend, the weekend just gone, and I really encourage anyone viewing at home and my fellow elected members to get down to the courtyard there and enjoy some music over summer, some really wonderful acts, and it's just fantastic to see, you know, WA talent coming to a beautiful town and city to entertain the people. So it's really good stuff. Check out the program. I also just really want to thank and acknowledge Maria Cook for everything that she's brought to the city through her role. I've had the unique and great pleasure of working with Maria as a staff member as well as an elected member, and I'm constantly impressed by her level of professionalism, the clarity that she brings to the proceedings, and if I can speak to also the incredible respect that staff have for Maria at the city. So your impact here will be felt for a long time, and I think that comes through in the strength of the team that you lead. So thank you, Maria.
Thank you, Councillor Penny. Councillor Kearney.
I've attended the same as everybody else here tonight, and I also wish Maria all the best in the future in her new role. Congratulations, and everybody a Merry Christmas.
Councillor Brown, do we need the hourglass?
Not quite. Thank you, Your Worship. So since the last ordinary council meeting, so Friday the 15th of November was the premiere night for Come From Away at Culin Arts Centre, and I have to say, and I think everyone would agree, what an absolutely incredible production show that was. Honestly, it was one of the, I think, best shows I've seen in my life. And I've seen quite a few of them. And I'm just really proud, and I think the community is really proud as well that something like this has come out of the city of Kwinana. And I loved it so much I went to the closing night as well. And it was really exciting to hear people asking on that evening what's coming next, I guess, for that cast for Culin Arts Centre and just the arts generally in the city of Kwinana. So that's really cool, I think. The 16th of November, I attended the OMG Festival in the Wellard Street Festival as part of the OMG program of events. 22nd of November, I attended the Dazzle at Darius, the lighting of the Christmas tree event in Chisholm Square. So where the mayor had the giant candy cane and pushed it down and everything turned on. So what an amazing sight that was. And on Thursday, the 5th of December, I attended the Thank a Volunteer event at Culin Arts Centre as well. I just want to conclude as well by wishing Maria well. I have written down here that saying whoever comes next has big shoes to fill is an understatement. And I agree with my fellow councillors that your impact will be felt here for a long time, not just names floating around in reports, but everything you have done for the city of Kwinana. So a big thank you for that. And it's a bit bittersweet, but we do wish you well for your next chapter of your career. So good luck. Thank you.
Councillor Acker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since the last committee meeting, I've had the pleasure of attending the Audit and Risk Committee. It's riveting. Also, the City of Kwinana Bushfire Advisory Committee. And yesterday, the Next Tech display home launch. You can get around there and have a look. It's amazing what they did in five or 6 weeks. But I pushed my personal boundaries, and I did a couple things. I went to the premiere of Come From Away, and I went on the public art tour. Quite opened my eyes to what the city of Kwinana has to offer in the art space. It's made me feel good about it, and it's sort of turned my perception around from where I was and what the city does in that space. So well done to the city staff, and Maria, all the best to you, and Merry Christmas, everyone.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Also attended the Bushfire Advisory Committee with Councillor Acker. We hosted the South Metro Zone meeting in Kwinana this month round, so it was good to have other councillors come down and to visit us, so we didn't have to travel. The seniors lunch, I must say, when I went to last year's one, it was a pretty good event, but kudos to the team for once again going all out, and the feedback from the seniors that attended the event, it was a hive of activity and conversation. I know that it was when it was initially put out, it was one of the hottest places to get a seat in town, and I think the end of the day the event went really well. We did our strat planning workshop. I had the privilege of attending the Callista Primary School 60th anniversary, so I had a look at a bit of memorabilia around the school, and I started to feel a bit old walking around, looking at some of those photos, but it was nice to see some of the images around, and it brings back memories of when I was younger growing up. There were people everywhere. Some of the buildings that are still there now, and just the excitement around the community for them to come around and celebrate an occasion, with it being the second oldest school in Kwinana. Attended the Bullamara Advisory Aboriginal Consultative Committee, and that closed that off for the year. I must say that from the concept to what it envisages to what that committee is growing into, I'm very proud to say that the City of Kwinana is definitely leading the way in how we have all our committees that we're all involved with, and I do take it personally that I think that each committee that we're involved in and that we chair and have the opportunity to provide the community with access to members of the City of Kwinana. It's very proud to be someone who represents the residents of the city. Everything's been said about Maria. I'd like to congratulate you on moving on to bigger and better things. I must say that it's been an honour and privilege to work with someone who moves around with such grace and provides information so succinct.
Like a swan.
And obviously available and ready to be able to answer questions in a quick response time, very measured, and I think it's only onwards and upwards for you when you move on. So I wish you all the best in your movements forward, and just like to thank everybody for the year we've had this year. We've had a lot going on as a council moving forward, and I also don't like to speak on behalf of the mayor, but we've had our challenges this year, but as a collective we've worked really well together, and I think we regularly get commented on how our councils are conducted and the business we do it and the professionalism that we have and the respect we have for each other. And on that note, I'd like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, safe and Happy New Year, and hopefully to spend some time with your families and your loved ones. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Answer to previous questions there are nil. Mayoral announcements. There are many. I will table the entirety of my 40-odd events and appointments since the last time I sat here. Don't worry, I won't read all 40. I will cover off 39. I will just start off by just talking about the announcement that was made last Tuesday by the Honourable Catherine King, announcing that Kwinana was successful in receiving $17.1 million in grants, $15 million towards the refurbishment of the Kwinana Aquatic, and $2.1 million towards the upgrade of the pedestrian connection between the city and the marketplace. This is actually the most significant investment in infrastructure in the city of Kwinana to date. The $35 million which we have allocated, let's hope it doesn't cost any more than that, Ms. Greaves. But it's certainly exciting times. So we are certainly very happy that the federal government gave us that money, and if councillors recall at the workshop we had in relation to the redevelopment of the aquatic, I quite clearly and quite forcefully said we will not receive this $15 million. I saw the manager of whatever his title is, Pete, this afternoon and said probably next time you won't believe me when I say we're not going to get it. So we're obviously certainly very excited about what we can do with that money. This briefly run through, let's just have a look for anything remotely. The air conditioning's off. I will speak faster. Take my time. So I'll speak faster. I've attended a lot of things. We did the Perth Southwest Metro Alliance mayors did meet with the US Consul General and this gave her an update on the trip to America. I have attended 1 million graduations and school presentations. I can confirm that North Parmelia Primary School's undercovered area is the hottest in Kwinana. They are the only school that I believe does not have a big-ass fan. So for those people that would like to represent me at North Parmelia next year, I will be looking for someone. The Lolly Run starts on Tuesday. Those councillors that, if you have missed the boat, or missed the truck, should I say, you're going to miss out on a very good night. I know lots of councillors have put their hand up, and there's many members of the community who have stepped up to go on the truck. I think there's about 100 volunteers, including one seal. So there is one seal. No seal? No seal. Sammy, has there been an incident in relation to Sammy? Okay, I thought maybe came to the same fate as Quabby with the moths, but that's good to know that the seal is just on holidays. Yesterday, in the 37-degree heat in a suit, I attended the opening of the Next Tech display home in Angertel. For those people that remember, we went to their R&D lab in Canning Vale, a phenomenal company with a great concept to roll out in a different way of building houses. 5 weeks is what it took to build this property from nothing to a house, and I believe it would have only been 4 weeks if it wasn't for the fact that the roof panels were ordered and they were 100 mil short. So as a consequence, it was 5 weeks. So they do actually have another display that's due for construction soon. I'm not sure if they've actually even have put in plans for approval, but I believe that they have a concept which is a multi-generational house to cater for growing families where parents may move in or grandparents. I think that's about it. I will. Hold on, Mr. It says mayoral announcements without discussion. Okay. That's not that very exciting. It's on the list. Almost lastly, I would like to also echo the councillors' comments in relation to Mrs. Cook, the Director of Staff. 7 years, and when I found out that Maria was leaving, I went and saw her, and she nearly told me off because none of her team knew at that stage. And I said to her, 7 years, I've just finally got used to you, Maria. I've just finally got used to how to deal with you, and now you're off. So congratulations on your promotion. All that I'll say is good luck, Basil Zemplis. Mrs. Cook is coming. And finally, I would also like to wish all the councillors and the community a festive season and a happy and Merry Christmas and a safe New Year. 2025 will be a big year for Kwinana. As you can just see from tonight's agenda, we have approved tenders for 2 new community facilities. We should see the start of construction or the refurbishment of this building. We should see plans well underway for the refurbishment of the aquatic, along with a number of other quite exciting things that are happening in Kwinana. So 2025 is our year. I have sharpened my scissors. I'm ready to cut some ribbons. I think that is about all. There are no confidential items, so I declare the meeting closed. at 7:04. No, I dictate the time, Director.